The massive alien ship blocked out the sun as it hovered over Seoul. It was 3 miles long and shaped like a giant arrow. Its dark metal skin reflected no light. For 6 hours it just sat there in the sky while the world held its breath. Dr. Jun Kim stood at the window of the emergency command center watching the ship. He was not a tall man. At 5 feet 5 inches, many people thought he looked more like a college student than the head of Earth's first contact team. His black hair was neatly cut, and his simple gray suit was perfectly pressed. Jun had spent his life studying the stars and dreaming of this day. Now it was here, and his stomach was in knots. "Dr. Kim, they're responding," said his assistant. Jun turned from the window. On the main screen, strange symbols flashed. The computer worked to translate them. "They want to meet," said Tae, the young communications expert. "They say they come in peace from the Galactic Confederation." "Tell them we accept," Jun said. His voice was calm, even though his heart was racing. "Send the coordinates for Olympic Park. It's open, public, and has enough space for their ship to land safely." 3 hours later, Jun stood with his team in the empty stadium. There were 12 humans total. Scientists, language experts, and 2 military officers who looked nervous with their hands on their holstered guns. "Remember," Jun told his team, "we represent all of humanity today. Be respectful, curious, and careful." A smaller ship broke off from the massive one above and descended toward them. It was sleek and moved without sound. It landed on the grass field, and for a long moment, nothing happened. Then a door opened with a hiss of air. A ramp extended to the ground. The beings that walked out made Jun blink in surprise. They looked like giant lizards standing on 2 legs. Each one was about 8 feet tall with scales that shimmered between green and blue. They had long tails that swayed behind them as they walked. Their heads were shaped like those of Earth's monitors or Komodo dragons, but with more intelligence in their yellow eyes. 6 aliens walked down the ramp. 5 wore what looked like armor, black and silver suits that hugged their powerful bodies. The one in front wore additional red markings and walked with the confidence of a leader. Jun stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth. I am Dr. Jun Kim, representative of the United Earth Council." The lead alien looked down at Jun. Its vertical pupils widened slightly as it studied him. Then it touched a device on its wrist. A small light flashed. "I am Captain Dolvarex of the Dolvan Empire, member of the Galactic Confederation." The alien's mouth moved differently than the words Jun heard. Some kind of translation device was working. "We come with greetings from the 87 civilized worlds." Jun bowed slightly. "We are honored by your visit. We have prepared a meeting room where we can speak comfortably." Captain Dolvarex looked at his team members. One of them made a sound that might have been a laugh. "They are so small," said one of the aliens in the back. The translator device on the captain's wrist picked up the words. Like children, the captain shot an angry look at the speaker, who stepped back. "Forgive Lieutenant Dolkrav. He is young, and this is his first diplomatic mission." The captain looked at Jun again. "We would be pleased to follow you." As they walked to the conference building at the edge of the park, Jun noticed how the aliens moved. They were heavy, each step making the ground vibrate slightly. Their muscles rippled under their scales. They looked powerful enough to tear a human apart with their bare hands. The conference room had a long table with chairs on both sides. The human chairs were normal, but the team had prepared special reinforced seats for the aliens after studying the ship's size. The aliens seemed surprised by this thoughtfulness. "You knew we would be larger?" asked Captain Dolvarex as he carefully sat down. "We made an educated guess based on your ship's dimensions and gravity requirements," Jun explained. "We analyzed the gravitational field around your vessel. It suggests you evolved on a world with higher gravity than Earth." The captain's eyes widened slightly. "Impressive observation for what do you call yourselves?" "Humans," Jun said. "Or Earthlings." "For a human," the captain finished. "Perhaps you are more advanced than your size suggests." Another alien, wearing what looked like scientific equipment, leaned toward the captain. "Their bone density scans show extremely light skeletal structures, evolved in low gravity, Surprising they achieved spaceflight with such physical limitations. Translator caught every word. June pretended not to notice the insulting tone. We have not achieved significant spaceflight yet, June admitted honestly. We have only explored our own solar system with robots and a few human missions. We are young as a technological civilization. But advancing quickly, added Dr. Sun, the older woman on June's team who specialized in technological development. We've moved from basic flight to digital technology in just over a century. Captain Dalvarax nodded. This matches our observations. You are a level 2 civilization on the Confederation scale. Impressive for your physical structure. Lieutenant Dalkrav, the one who had spoken earlier, was staring at the humans with what seemed like amusement. They're actually quite cute, aren't they? Like the pet Zrix we keep on our homeworld. The translation came through clearly. The captain shot the lieutenant another warning glance, but the damage was done. June kept his face neutral. Perhaps you could tell us more about this Galactic Confederation? For the next 2 hours, Captain Dalvarax explained the basics of galactic politics. The Confederation included 87 spacefaring species organized by technological and cultural development levels. Most species were from high-gravity worlds and had physical forms similar to the Dolvans, large, strong, durable. Earth would be welcomed as a protectorate species, the captain explained. You would receive our protection, limited technology sharing, and cultural exchange. In return, we would establish a small base here and have access to some of your natural resources. Protectorate, June repeated carefully. Not full membership? The captain's tail swished once. Full membership is for level 4 civilizations and above. It will take your species centuries to reach that point even with our guidance. I see, June said. And what rights do protectorate species have in Confederation decisions? Advisory only, said one of the other aliens. For your own protection, of course. Galactic politics can be dangerous for physically vulnerable species. As the meeting continued, the patronizing tone of the aliens became clearer. They saw humans as clever but weak children who needed protection. When they took a break, Lieutenant Dalkrav walked past Dr. Kim. The massive alien accidentally bumped into him, sending June stumbling backward. Dalkrav caught him with one clawed hand, steadying him with insulting ease. Careful, little one, the lieutenant said. Our gravity compensators make us lighter here, but I still mass about 6 of you. His mouth formed what might have been a smile, showing teeth like knives. June looked up at the alien, meeting his eyes calmly. Thank you for your concern, Lieutenant. We'll need to study your proposal carefully before giving our answer. Of course, Captain Dalvarax said. We will return in 3 of your days for your response, but I urge you to accept our generous offer. The galaxy can be unfriendly to unprotected worlds. As the aliens departed, June watched their ship rise into the sky. The implied threat in the captain's words was clear. Earth needed to decide: accept second-class status or risk being alone in a dangerous universe. But June had noticed something the aliens hadn't tried to hide. They underestimated humans. They thought of Earth as weak, and that might be the one advantage humans had. For 3 days, the world's leaders argued over the Dolvan offer. Many wanted to accept it. They feared what might happen if Earth refused. Others were angry at being called a protectorate species. They demanded full membership in the Galactic Confederation. Dr. June Kim sat quietly in the back of the United Nations emergency session, listening to the debate. His team had spent the last 72 hours studying everything they learned from the first meeting. Something about the Dolvans bothered him. They were too confident, too dismissive. Dr. Kim, the Secretary General finally said, you met them. You've studied their words and behavior. What do you recommend? June walked to the podium. The room fell silent. The Dolvans see us as weak, he said simply. They judge us by our physical size and strength. In their culture, power matters above all else. He pressed a button and images appeared on the big screen. Their ship's design, their armor, even their language. Everything suggests a culture that respects force. If we accept protectorate Status, they will never respect us. We will always be second class, but we can't fight them, someone shouted. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. I'm not suggesting war, June said calmly. I'm suggesting we show them that humans aren't what they expect. I have a plan. 6 hours later, June's plan was approved. It was risky, but Earth had few options. The next day, the massive Dolphin ship returned. Once again, Captain Dalvarex and his team met with the humans at Olympic Park. Have you reached a decision? The captain asked, looking down at June. Yes, June replied. We appreciate your offer of protectorate status, but Earth wishes to join the Confederation as a full member. Lieutenant Dolkrov made a sound like a bark. Full membership? For primitives who haven't even left their own solar system? Captain Dalvarex held up a hand to silence his officer, but his eyes showed amusement. Dr. Kim, I understand your pride, but full membership requires certain qualifications that Earth simply doesn't meet. June nodded. We understand. That's why we propose a test. A test? The captain's tail swished with interest. Yes, you mentioned that the Confederation sometimes uses challenges to determine a species' worthiness. We request such a challenge. The Dolphin officers looked at each other. Captain Dalvarex seemed surprised but intrigued. That is an ancient tradition, rarely invoked anymore. But you are correct. It is still in our laws. Lieutenant Dolkrov stepped forward eagerly. Let me handle this, Captain. These humans need to learn their place. The captain considered for a moment. Very well. A challenge it is. According to tradition, each side will choose a champion. The nature of the test must demonstrate the quality the challenged species claims to possess. He looked at June. What quality do humans claim that would make them worthy of full membership? Strength, June said without hesitation. This time, several of the Dolphins laughed openly. Even Captain Dalvarex couldn't hide his smile. Strength? Your species evolved in low gravity. Your muscles and bones are fragile compared to ours. Nevertheless, June said firmly, we claim the quality of strength and request a test of it. The captain's smile grew wider. As you wish. The test shall be a trial of physical strength. Each champion must move a heavy object across a designated line. The object will be... He thought for a moment. An old battle tank. I believe your military has such vehicles? We do, June confirmed. Excellent. Lieutenant Dolkrov will represent the Confederation. Who will be Earth's champion? June turned and gestured to a young woman who had been standing quietly with his team. This is Sue Park. She will represent Earth. The Dolphins stared at Sue in disbelief. She was even smaller than June, perhaps 5 feet 2 inches tall with a slender build. She wore a simple white medical coat over dark pants and had her black hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. She looked like she weighed no more than 120 pounds. Lieutenant Dolkrov roared with laughter. Is this a joke? She's half my size. Captain Dalvarex looked concerned. Dr. Kim, I must warn you, this is not a symbolic contest. Your champion must actually move a heavy battle tank. Lieutenant Dolkrov is one of our strongest officers. Your medical assistant could be injured. I'm actually a physical therapist, Sue said with a polite smile. Her voice was soft but clear. And I accept the challenge. The captain looked troubled. Very well. The challenge is set. Tomorrow at midday at your military facility, we will use one of your decommissioned tanks. The champions must move it across a line 10 meters away. If your champion succeeds, we will recommend Earth for full membership. And if she fails, June asked. The captain's expression hardened. Then Earth accepts protectorate status without further protest. These are the terms. We accept, June said, ignoring the shocked looks from some of his team members. After the Dolphins left, Earth's leadership questioned June's decision. They gathered in an underground bunker at the military base. Have you lost your mind? Demanded General Lee. You're betting Earth's future on a physical therapist in a strength contest against an alien twice her size? June remained calm. So, would you like to explain? Sue nodded and stood up. I'm not just a physical therapist. That's my cover job. She walked to a large metal crate in the corner of the room. It was marked Warning 500 kg. Without apparent effort, She lifted it with one hand and held it above her head. The room fell silent. 6 years ago, June explained, our deep space telescopes detected signs of advanced civilizations. We knew first contact would come eventually. We also knew that most intelligent species in our galaxy likely evolved on higher gravity worlds, making them naturally stronger than humans. Sue set down the crate gently. I volunteered for Project Hidden Strength. There are 50 of us now, spread around the world. What exactly are you? Asked the Secretary General, staring at Sue with wide eyes. Still human, she said. Just enhanced. Nanotechnology integrated with my muscle fibers, reinforced bone structure, modified metabolism. She smiled. I can lift about 30 times my body weight without showing any visible strain. General Lee looked skeptical. A tank weighs at least 70 tons. Can you really move it? I can lift it completely off the ground, Sue said confidently. I've been training with heavier objects. June turned to the leaders. The Dolphins judge by appearances. They see our size and assume weakness. We're using their prejudice against them. It's risky, the Secretary General said. If this fails, it won't, Sue assured them. The lieutenant has no idea what he's facing. Neither do any of the Dolphins. Later, that night, aboard the Dolvan ship, Lieutenant Dolkrav prepared for the challenge. He injected himself with a performance enhancer, a practice forbidden in official Confederation challenges. The humans must learn their place, he muttered to himself, feeling the drug spread through his system. His muscles swelled slightly and he felt a surge of power. Tomorrow, they will see what real strength is. Back on Earth, Sue slept peacefully in her quarters. Tomorrow would change everything, not just for her, but for all of humanity. The EQ. Dolphins had no idea what was coming, and they certainly had no idea what humans were truly capable of when pushed to their limits. The morning of the challenge arrived with clear skies. At the military base outside Seoul, soldiers prepared the testing ground. They moved a decommissioned K-2 Black Panther tank to the center of a large concrete pad. The tank weighed 55 tons, without fuel or ammunition. Its massive gun pointed skyward like a silent warning. Workers painted a white line 10 meters away from the tank. Video cameras were set up to record the event from every angle. News crews from around the world gathered. Behind safety barriers, this was the most important day in human history. In a small room inside the base, Sue Park sat quietly while technicians checked her vital signs. She looked perfectly normal in her simple workout clothes, a light blue t-shirt and black pants. Nothing about her appearance suggested she was anything but an ordinary young woman. Dr. June Kim entered the room. How do you feel? Ready, Sue said with a small smile. The nanites are at full capacity, core temperature normal, all systems green. June nodded. The Dolvans have arrived with their full diplomatic team. They've also brought recording equipment. They plan to broadcast this across their confederation. Let them, Sue said calmly. It will save us the trouble of spreading the news ourselves. Remember the plan, June said. Let the lieutenant go first. Don't show your full strength immediately. We want maximum impact. Sue stood up. I understand. I'll give them a show they'll never forget. Outside, the Dolvan delegation had arrived in a sleek shuttle. Captain Dolvarex led his team across the concrete toward the waiting humans. Lieutenant Dolkrav walked with pride, his scales gleaming in the sunlight. The performance enhancers had made his muscles even larger than before. The two teams met, beside the tank. Earth's military leaders and political representatives stood on one side, the Dolvans on the other. The terms of the challenge are simple, Captain Dolvarex announced. Each champion must move the battle tank across the white line. If both succeed, the one who completes the task with greater ease will win. If only one succeeds, they are the winner. He looked at the human delegation. Are these terms acceptable? They are, June confirmed. The captain turned to Lieutenant Dolkrav. You will go first. The lieutenant stepped forward, stretching his massive arms. He removed his armor, revealing muscles that rippled under his scales. He approached the tank slowly, studying it. The K-2 Black Panther was 11 meters long and over 3 meters wide. Its treads were designed for rough terrain, not for being moved by hand. The lieutenant walked around it, looking for the best place to grip. Finally, he positioned himself at the rear of the tank. He bent down, gripped underneath the heavy armor, and took a deep breath. With a roar that echoed across the base, he heaved upward. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly the back of the tank began to rise. Dolkrav's face contorted with effort, veins bulging on his neck and arms. His legs trembled as he lifted the rear of the tank a foot off the ground. With a growl, he began to drag the tank backward. The front tread scraped against the concrete, leaving black marks. Step by painful step, he pulled the massive vehicle toward the white line. The Dolvan delegation cheered their champion. Sweat poured from the lieutenant's scales, but he did not stop. After 3 minutes of incredible effort, he crossed the white line with the tank. Dolkrav dropped the tank with a thunderous crash and raised his arms in victory. The concrete pad had cracked under the strain. The lieutenant's breathing was heavy, but his eyes shone with triumph. An impressive display, Captain Dolvarex announced. Now, the human champion may attempt the challenge. All eyes turned to Sue. She looked impossibly small next to the massive tank. Several Dolvans were openly laughing. Lieutenant Dolkrav, still catching his breath, gave her a mocking bow. "You may forfeit without shame," the captain said kindly. "There is no dishonor in recognizing physical limitations." Sue just smiled. "Thank you for your concern, Captain. But I'll proceed." She walked to the front of the tank, where the heaviest armor protected the crew compartment. For a moment she simply stood there, eyes closed, breathing slowly. "What is she doing?" one of the Dolvans asked. "Praying?" Inside Sue's body, microscopic machines activated. They flooded her muscles with energy, reinforced her bones, and prepared her cardiovascular system for extreme output. None of this was visible from the outside. She still looked like an ordinary human woman standing before a machine 50 times her weight. Sue opened her eyes. She bent down and placed her hands under the front armor of the tank. Then she straightened her back, just as any proper lifter would. With one smooth motion, she lifted the front of the tank off the ground. There was no strain on her face, no trembling in her limbs. It looked as easy as lifting a grocery bag. The Dolvan delegation fell silent. Lieutenant Dolkrav's mouth opened in shock, but Sue wasn't finished. She adjusted her grip and lifted higher. The tank's front rose 3 feet off the ground, then 4, then 5, and then, in a move that made even the human delegation gasp, she shifted her weight and lifted the entire front half of the tank completely into the air. The 55-ton war machine balanced on its rear treads for a moment before those, too, left the ground. Sue Park was holding the entire tank above her head. The silence was absolute. Birds stopped singing. The wind seemed to pause. Every eye, human and alien, was fixed on the impossible sight of a small woman holding a battle tank over her head with apparent ease. With the tank balanced overhead, Sue began to walk. Her steps were calm and measured, as if she were carrying nothing heavier than a backpack. She walked straight toward the white line. Lieutenant Dolkrav's face showed a mixture of disbelief and anger. Captain Dolvarex stood frozen in shock. One of the Dolvan scientists was frantically checking a handheld device, as if certain their gravity compensators must be malfunctioning. Sue crossed the white line. She continued walking several more meters before gently, almost delicately, lowering the tank back to the ground. The massive vehicle settled onto its treads with barely a sound. Then she turned to face the delegations. Her breathing was slightly faster than normal, but otherwise she showed no signs of exertion. She gave a small bow to the Dolvan captain. "Challenge completed," she said simply. Lieutenant Dolkrav roared in fury. "Impossible. She must have technology, hidden machines. This is cheating." Captain Dolvarex raised a hand to silence his officer. His eyes narrowed as he studied Sue. "Is this true? Are you using hidden technology?" Dr. June Kim stepped forward. "No more than the lieutenant is using performance enhancers that I can smell from here." The captain's head snapped toward Dolkrav, who suddenly looked guilty. "Besides," June continued, "your scanners would have detected external devices. What you saw is simply what some humans can do. Some humans? The captain repeated slowly. His eyes moved from Sue to the other humans present, as if seeing them all differently now. Yes, June said. Some of us. The captain was silent for a long moment. Then he straightened to his full height. The challenge is complete. Earth's champion has demonstrated superior strength. According to our laws, we must acknowledge this quality. He turned to his delegation. Prepare a transmission to the Confederation Council. Earth will be recommended for full membership status. As the Dolvins returned to their shuttle, Lieutenant Dolkrov glared at Sue with hatred and confusion. She met his gaze calmly, still showing no sign of fatigue. The humans had won, and the galaxy would never look at them the same way again. News of the challenge spread across Earth within hours. Videos of Sue lifting the tank went viral on every platform. People celebrated in the streets of major cities. Humanity had proven itself to the stars. But inside the high-security meeting room beneath Seoul, the mood was serious. Dr. June Kim sat with Earth's leaders as they faced Captain Dolvarex across the table. This time, the Dolvin captain did not look down at the humans with amusement. His yellow eyes were careful and watchful. The Confederation Council has reviewed our report, Captain Dolvarex said. They have agreed to grant Earth provisional, full membership, pending a 6-month observation period. Thank you, Captain, said the Secretary General. We look forward to joining the galactic community as equals. The captain's tail twitched slightly. Before we proceed, there are questions that must be answered. He looked directly at June. How many enhanced humans do you have? June met the alien's gaze calmly. I'm afraid that's classified information, Captain. Is it 1? 10? Thousands? The captain leaned forward. The council needs to know what we're dealing with. What you're dealing with, June said, is a species that has learned to adapt and overcome challenges. Isn't that what the Confederation values? The Dolvin captain's scales shifted color slightly, a sign of frustration. We detected no external technology on your champion. Our scan showed only internal modifications that we cannot replicate. This is concerning. Sue Park sat quietly at the end of the table. She wore her normal clothes again, looking like nothing more than a young medical professional. No one would guess she had lifted a battle tank the day before. Why is it concerning? She asked. Your species evolved with natural strength. We developed our own. What's the difference? Captain Dolvarex turned to her. The difference is that we can see a Dolvin's strength. It's obvious in our size and musculature. But your abilities are hidden. No one would suspect what you are capable of just by looking at you. The Secretary General smiled. Perhaps that's a lesson the Confederation needs to learn, Captain. Appearances can be deceiving. The meeting continued for several hours as they discussed the details of Earth's membership. The Dolvins were polite but clearly more cautious than before. They no longer spoke about humans as if they were children. After the meeting, Lieutenant Dolkrov approached Sue in the hallway. His massive form blocked her path. His scales had darkened to a deep blue-green, a sign of anger or embarrassment. You humiliated me, he said quietly. Sue looked up at him calmly. That wasn't my intention. I was just completing the challenge. You could have simply moved the tank. You didn't need to lift it completely. And you didn't need to laugh at me. Before the challenge, she replied, or to take performance enhancers. The lieutenant's eyes widened slightly. Then he lowered his voice. How many more like you are there? Sue smiled. Enough. She stepped around him and walked away, leaving the lieutenant staring after her with a mixture of anger and fear. Later that evening, June found Sue in the base's gym. She wasn't using any equipment, just sitting quietly on a bench. You did well today, he said, sitting beside her. So did you, she replied. But I'm worried about what happens next. June nodded. The Dolvins are scared now. They'll tell the other Confederation species about us, and they'll all be watching us closely. Sue looked at her hands that had lifted 55 tons as if it were nothing. Maybe we revealed too much. We revealed exactly what we needed to, June said firmly. If we had accepted protectorate status, they would have treated us like pets forever. Now they'll respect us. Respect and fear are different things, Sue said. Sometimes they go hand in hand. June sighed. Besides, we only showed them one of our advantages. Sue raised an eyebrow. The others? Human adaptability, creativity, determination. June smiled. Even without the Hidden Strength program, humans have qualities that will surprise the Confederation. The next morning, Earth's first official delegation prepared to visit the Confederation Council. Sue was not going. Her job as Earth's champion was done. She would return to her cover role as a physical therapist, just another face in the crowd. As the delegation boarded the Dolvan shuttle, Captain Dalvarex pulled June aside. "I must know," he said quietly. "For my own peace of mind. Was she the only one? The only human with that level of enhancement?" June looked at the captain thoughtfully. Then he smiled. "Captain, let me tell you a story from Earth's history. There was a small island nation called Sparta. They were known for their warriors. Everyone in the society trained for battle from childhood. When a much larger empire threatened them, just 300 Spartan soldiers held off an army of thousands. The captain's vertical pupils narrowed. "Are you saying there are only a few hundred enhanced humans?" "I'm saying," June replied carefully, "that throughout human history, we've found that it doesn't take many exceptional individuals to make a difference. But it's not always about numbers, Captain. It's about what those individuals represent." Before the captain could ask another question, June boarded the shuttle. The door closed behind him. In orbit above Earth, the massive Dolvan ship prepared to return to Confederation space. On the bridge, Captain Dalvarex watched the blue planet grow smaller on the view screen. "Update the species profile for humans," he ordered his science officer. "Classification, potentially dangerous. Approach, with caution." The officer looked up in surprise. "Sir? They've only just achieved spaceflight technology." "They've achieved more than that," the captain said. "They've learned to hide their true capabilities. Who knows what else they're hiding?" As the ship accelerated away from Earth, Captain Dalvarex couldn't shake the image of the small human woman holding a battle tank over her head. He had served the Confederation for 30 years and seen many strange things in the galaxy, but nothing had unsettled him quite like the humans. Back on Earth, Sue Park returned to the hospital where she worked. She helped an elderly man with his walking exercises, her gentle hands guiding him patiently. No one in the hospital knew she had been Earth's champion. No one knew what she could do, and that was exactly the point. Across the planet, 49 other enhanced humans went about their daily lives, blending perfectly with the 8 billion ordinary people. They were Earth's hidden strength, powerful but invisible, ready if needed but never drawing attention. The galaxy might call humans cute because of their size, but they would never make the mistake of thinking cute meant harmless again. 6 months passed quickly. Earth prepared for full membership in the Galactic Confederation. The provisional period was almost over, and the formal ceremony would take place in 3 days. Dr. June Kim stood at the window of the new Confederation embassy in Seoul. The building had been constructed in just 4 months with alien technology. Its walls were made of a material that changed color with the sunlight. Today it was a soft blue that matched the sky. "Nervous?" asked a voice behind him. June turned to see Sue Park. She wore a simple dark suit now that she had been officially assigned to the embassy's security team. Only a handful of people knew her true capabilities. "A little," June admitted. "The galaxy is watching us now. And they're still underestimating us," Sue said with a small smile. This was true. In the 6 months since the tank incident, Earth had become famous throughout the Confederation. Aliens called humans the hidden strong, or sometimes just the deceptive ones. But they still didn't fully understand humanity. "The Zrel delegation arrives today," June said. "They're the third most powerful species in the Confederation. Even the Dolvans respect them." "I've read the briefing," Sue nodded. 6 arms, silicon-based, biology, breathe methane, Not very friendly. They opposed our membership, June said. They don't trust species that can hide their abilities. A light flashed on June's desk. The Zrel ship had entered Earth's atmosphere. It was time. The landing pad outside the embassy was designed for various alien ships. The Zrel vessel was smaller than the Dolphin ship, but more elegant. It looked like a silver teardrop with glowing blue lines running along its surface. June stood with Earth's diplomatic team as the ship landed. Captain Dolvarex was there too. In the past 6 months, he had become Earth's unofficial guide to Confederation politics. The tank incident had changed him. He now treated humans with careful respect. The Zrel ship's door opened with a hiss of methane gas. 3 figures emerged, each wearing environmental suits that allowed them to survive in Earth's oxygen atmosphere. They were about 7 feet tall with 6 long arms that moved with precise, careful motions. Their bodies were covered in what looked like gray-green plates. Their heads had no visible eyes, just clusters of small sensory pits. "Welcome to Earth," June said, bowing. "I am Dr. June Kim, Earth's diplomatic liaison." The lead Zrel made a series of clicking sounds. A translation device on its suit converted the sounds to human language. "I am Senior Observer Zika Tal of the Zrel Collective. We come to witness the membership ceremony." Its voice was flat and mechanical through the translator. The Zrel turned one of its sensory cluster areas toward Sue, who stood quietly behind June. "Is this the enhanced one?" it asked. "The one who lifted the war machine?" "This is Sue Park," June said carefully. She was Earth's champion in the challenge. The Zrel studied her for a long moment. "Interesting. We wish to see a demonstration, Captain." Dolvarex stepped forward quickly. "Senior Observer, that wasn't in the schedule for today." "We have come a long way," the Zrel replied. "The collective wishes to verify what the Dolphins reported." June looked at Sue, who nodded slightly. "A small demonstration would be fine," June said. "What did you have in mind?" The Zrel pointed to its ship with 3 of its arms. "Lift our shuttle." There was a moment of shocked silence. The Zrel ship was at least 3 times heavier than the tank Sue had lifted 6 months ago. "That would not be safe," Captain Dolvarex objected. "The ship contains sensitive equipment and—" "I cannot lift the entire ship," Sue interrupted quietly. "But I could lift one end." The Zrel's translator made a sound that might have been satisfaction. "That will be acceptable." Everyone moved back as Sue approached the silver teardrop ship. She studied it carefully, finding the strongest point, near the rear where she could safely apply force. Inside her body, the nanomachines activated again, flooding her muscles with strength. She placed her hands under the ship's hull and took a deep breath. With careful, controlled movement, she began to lift. The back of the ship rose slowly into the air. 2 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet. The front of the ship remained on the ground, but the rear was now higher than Sue's head. She held it there steadily, showing no sign of strain. The Zrel were completely still, their sensory clusters focused on her. After 30 seconds, Sue gently lowered the ship back to the landing pad. "Demonstration complete," she said calmly. The lead Zrel made rapid clicking sounds that the translator didn't catch. Then it turned to June. "The Dolphin report was accurate," it said. "Most unusual for a low-gravity species." Before June could reply, an alarm sounded from inside the embassy. A human security officer ran out onto the landing pad. "Dr. Kim, we've detected an unauthorized ship entering Earth's atmosphere. It's not responding to hails." Captain Dolvarex reached for a device on his belt. "Confederation security should handle this." "It's a Gorlan raider ship," the officer said urgently. The captain's scales paled. "Gorlans? Here? They never raid this far from the trade routes." "Who are the Gorlans?" June asked quickly. "Pirates," the captain explained. "They attack ships and outposts, steal technology and resources. They're brutal, but usually avoid Confederation. Core worlds." The Zrel's translator clicked rapidly. They must have learned of Earth's membership ceremony. A new world with limited defenses would be tempting. On a large screen inside the embassy, they could see the Gorlan ship. It was dark and spiky, designed to look threatening. It was heading directly for Seoul. "We need to evacuate," Captain Dolvarex said urgently. "Gorlan raiders are heavily armed." "No," June said firmly. "Earth will handle this." He turned to a communications officer. "Contact Project Hidden Strength. Authorization code Omega-7, deploy Team 3. The officer nodded and spoke quietly into a secure line. "What are you doing?" the captain asked. "Showing the Confederation what happens when someone threatens Earth," June replied. 20 minutes later, the Gorlan ship was directly over the city. It hovered ominously, weapon systems visibly charging. On the embassy screens, they could see small hatches opening on its underside, probably preparing to deploy raiding parties. Then something unexpected happened. 3 small objects rose rapidly from different parts of the city. They moved too fast for normal flying vehicles. They were humans, 3 enhanced members of Project Hidden Strength, each wearing a specially designed flight suit. "What are those?" asked the Zrel observer. "More of our champions," June said quietly. On the screen, the 3 flying humans reached the Gorlan ship. Instead of avoiding its weapons, they flew directly at it. The ship fired energy beams that the humans dodged with incredible speed. Then they landed on the hull. What happened next was hard to see clearly, but the 3 humans began tearing open sections of the ship with their bare hands. They ripped through metal plating as if it were paper, disabled weapon systems, and eventually forced their way inside. 7 minutes after they entered, the Gorlan ship's engines shut down. It began a controlled descent to a military base outside. The city clearly no longer under Gorlan control. The Zrel and Captain Dolvarex watched in stunned silence. "How many enhanced humans do you have?" the captain finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. June smiled. "Enough." 3 days later, the membership ceremony proceeded as planned. Earth was formally welcomed into the Galactic Confederation with full status. The ceremony was broadcast to all 87 member worlds. In his speech, June emphasized humanity's desire for peaceful cooperation and cultural exchange. He never mentioned the Gorlan incident, which had been classified as a security exercise in official reports. But word had spread throughout the Confederation. Humans were not just strong. They were defenders who could handle threats quickly and decisively. After the ceremony, Captain Dolvarex approached June and Sue. "When we first met," he said, "I thought humans were cute, harmless creatures who needed protection." He shook his head. "I was very wrong." "A common mistake," Sue said with a smile. "But we don't hold grudges. The galaxy will be watching Earth closely now," the captain warned. "Let them watch," June replied. "We have nothing to hide. Except, of course, for the 47 other enhanced humans scattered around the world, living ordinary lives until needed, and the hundreds more in training, and the countless other ways humanity had prepared for a dangerous universe. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Never judge a species by their size. And never, ever call an Earthling cute unless you're ready for a surprise.